Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
All right, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Jack.
And this week, we are reviewing the Stanley Kubrick classic, Paths of Glory. And, Jack, what'd you think of this film?
Fucking depressing.
Good, good.
There is no law in this world. No just law.
Yeah, so I was very confused. Like, obviously the whole point of this film is to be like, oh, they're getting shafted and war is unfair and like nothing is going to work for them. But also, like, no single argument that Kirk Douglas brought up was allowed. And I was like, what evidence would they have accepted?
Really nothing. Like, they knew what they were doing through and through.
Well, I think the best line in that entire court scene was, "Did you make it to the barbed wire? Sir, I led the attack and I didn't even make it there."
Yeah. He even offered himself upon the altar, and they're like, no, we need to kill these 5 people. Why? Fuck you, that's why.
Well, remember they were originally going to kill like 100 and they settled on 3. And it's like, I know that like World War I was like a terrific loss of life and whatnot, but it's like, really, France, you're in a position where you can just wax 100 people off your roster for something stupid like this?
Yeah, it's just so rich people feel good about themselves. Like, they had to have some scapegoat for losing Ant Hill.
The Anthill.
Was there a reason they called it that I don't remember?
No, I think it was just their, like, this is our impressive fortress that we're attacking. So, had you ever heard of this film before?
I haven't, actually. Never in my life until you mentioned it.
So you've seen most of Kubrick's films.
I don't know about that.
You've seen a number of them.
I've seen Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, which, by the way, I started reading this week. And my God, that's a difficult read.
I could imagine that was a difficult watch as a movie.
Like, the entire book is from the main character's recollections. And by the way, it's entirely in their speech, or lingo, or slang, or whatever you want to call it, because the author was a linguist, and he just invented his own parlance for the book. It's like it's fucking weird. It's a mixture of, like, Russian and an informal, childlike understanding of English slang. Like, they call their slang for a head is Gulliver or Golova, from the Russian word Golova, meaning head. Go pain him a Gulliver. And instead of badly or looks bad, it's horror show. He had a real overshow on his face after the scrap. But yeah, good book though. Good book. I finished. What the hell is it called? Hitchhiker's Guide this week.
It's a good book. Also a good film.
Is it a war movie?
No, I don't think so.
God damn it, there was another movie I was going to ask if it's a war movie earlier, but I can't remember it. Anyway, Paths of Glory. Sorry, I got off on a book club tangent.
Well, I really appreciate, like, I'm not like a huge Stanley Kubrick guy, but I did very much enjoy this film. And I appreciated that like this film, like it's black and white, but stylistically it's very similar to Doctor Strangelove in the way he shot it. Um, but you can obviously tell this is one of his earlier works, just because the storytelling, like this is probably the most like linear, like point ABC type story Kubrick has told that I've seen. Because like, with like Full Metal Jacket, it's like an hour and a half of boot camp and then like an hour in Vietnam. Like it's a very long storytelling, and uh Doctor Strangelove is, a very choppy, like just bouncing all around the place kind of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much like it falls in line with like 1950. It almost felt like watching an episode of The Twilight Zone where it's like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Like it's a very easy story to follow.
Yeah, easy story to follow. It wasn't very long either. It was like what, hour 20, hour 30.
No, it was pretty direct, straight to the point, which I think I also appreciated because that's kind of different from Kubrick's style also. This film, it definitely doesn't, like, if I didn't know anything and you showed me this film, I would not guess he was the director of it.
Hmm.
But that being said, I think this is the first time we've watched a World War One movie where the French are the main characters, yet all of the French people are not French.
Why would you cast French people as French people?
I don't know. That
They
seems
speak
silly.
French.
We're gonna have an American cast for our French war movie. I don't know. Why did we cast Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon?
I don't have an answer for that. Because, why not cast the guy who played the Joker?
Fair. But, what did you think of the combat in this? Because I feel like every World War One film we've watched this far has not held back as far as the violence of that war goes. Like All Quiet on the Western Front and Lost Battalion, very violent films. Um, I feel like this film was a little different in that regards. And what do you think about that?
It was intentionally different because the main focus of the movie was military justice and the asinine nature of it all, and just the bloodthirsty Byzantine attitudes of the military justice officials. The combat was just, well, just that combat, like it showed why they did what they did. This very well could have been a movie that just started at the trial and we saw nothing of the film, or we saw nothing of the battle, and it just established that through like their stories to really give you a sense of, are these guys telling the truth or not. But we actually see it unfold. Makes it much more impactful and makes it more frustrating to watch. It could have been like A Few Good Men. No, is that the movie I'm thinking of? You Can't Handle the Truth.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that one. Is that on our list?
Probably.
Well, it very well could be. I don't think there's any combat in it, but all right. If you turn your head and squint, it's a war movie.
Yeah. War adjacent.
War adjacent. God.
I will say something I really appreciated is like this is going to sound weird, but like the trenches in this film were fucking beautiful. Like I don't
Define
know,
beautiful.
like they felt legit to me. You know, sometimes take like Lost Battalion for example. That movie starts with a trench scene. Most of the film is not in the trenches, but it starts with a trench scene. But you get the impression when they shoot the scene in the trench that they dug like a 30-foot long hole in the ground and it's just like the one place that occurred. In this film, they have something Kubrick does a lot is the like long kind of like panning or running shots. And we see that this trench that they're filming in and are, you know, telling their story, like it felt like that trench was a solid like 200 feet because they kept like taking turns and like the trench felt real because it genuinely felt like there wasn't an end to it. Like the trench itself did not feel like a Hollywood set piece.
Yeah, they actually started World War One to film this movie. Fun fact: Stanley Kubrick is that much of a stickler for detail.
Yeah, you gotta do it right.
Like those extras actually died making this movie, so you guys should be really grateful, our listeners.
I think I saw something. I don't know if it was this film. I think it was, but um, I think they hired a bunch of like German police officers to act as extras when they filmed this, and like Kubrick had to tell them to act more scared because like Dottie, get the fuck down. Um, sorry for I had to yell at my dog.
Thought you were yelling at me.
Is your name Dottie?
No, but you've come up with weird nicknames, I think.
Hey,
Anyway,
what we do in the bedroom is not the listener's concern, okay?
yeah, fuck you guys.
Um, the fuck was I going to say? So yeah, like I think they had a bunch of like World War II vets as extras in this film, and I think Kubrick had to tell them like, no, you need to like really overplay it to like sell this.
Act scared, damn you.
Well, I think one of the issues they were running into was like I think some of them actually got like legitimately hurt because they would like jump into like artillery holes that had like you know the like fake charges in it. So they would jump directly on top of like a movie
Oh,
chart and like get blown the fuck up,
that would hurt like hell.
right? Which, speaking of getting blown the fuck up, I learned a fun fact about Kirk Douglas when I was looking up this movie. So, Kirk Douglas, before his acting career, he also served in World War II on a like an anti-submarine ship, and he got medically discharged during the war because there was an accident where a depth charge went off before being dropped off of his ship, and it injured
Ooh,
him. So we're very lucky to have had a Hollywood with Kirk Douglas in it.
really is. Really is. He got old too before he died.
Oh yeah, he was like up in his 90s because he passed in 2020.
Yeah, only a couple years ago. Dude was mad old.
Let me see. What does that put? He died at the fucking age of 103, which is kind of ironic because this film takes place in 1916, and that was the year he was born.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I just Googled it.
Ah,
Also, I think this is the first like mid-war film we've reviewed.
What do you mean?
Well, usually I like with Lost Battalion and All Quiet on the Western Front, like those are the original anyway, like those films take place in like 1918, and I think a lot of World War One films take place in 1918.
Hmm. I mean, if you really want to get technical, I guess that we had All Quiet on the Western Front, and that goes from the beginning of the war to the end.
I suppose.
Yeah,
Hold
because
on,
everyone
hold
was
on one
right.
second. Dottie, come here. Dottie, give me this. Go find something else. Um, I don't know when did that one cavalry film we did. That was like 1916 or 17. But I digress. It's mid-war in French is different from most World War One films we review.
Yeah, but are you sure this took place in 1980? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. When did this movie take place?
The opening, like when they're narrating in the beginning, it said 1916.
Uh,
Um, what was your favorite part of this film?
hmm. There was a certain beauty in the last scene, which, yeah, I know it's problematic because they're forcing this poor German girl to sing and perform and shit, but it's just something, calming about it. Like, most of these men are probably just marching out for their death the second this is over, yes, but it's just the calm before the storm, this one of those moments in a really shitty situation that you just got to stop and enjoy while it lasts. And the cap and Kirk Douglas was like, just give him a minute, let him enjoy this. Then it's back to the trenches.
Right. I I thought that was a powerful scene as well. I also was really just kind of skeeved out by like the incessant like why are they all loudly and obnoxiously whistling? Like I get the like cat call like I don't like I get the like giving her shit and like cat calling and all that and like the occasional whistle, but there was like seven dudes in that room that were all like incessantly like loud whistling. That was super distracting for me.
Yeah, how rude.
How dare they ruin my movie experience?
Yeah, screw him.
I for me the most powerful or my favorite scene is after the soldiers have been found guilty and they lock them up in this like cellar and the preacher comes to visit them as like do you have anything to confess and the first guy like he does the normal like yep I'm doing the religious thing and then the second guy's like oh it kind of make me a hypocrite if I did it now and the preacher's like what's the word what's the worst that can happen to you I mean might as well give it a shot and then the third guy is a complete dickhead and they end up having to like punch him and he gets knocked the fuck out. That personally for me was my favorite scene because you have three very distinct reactions to an impending death sentence. And I've always found the scenario of like about to go to your death very interesting. Like one of my favorite films is The Green Mile, and that film and book explores that topic a lot.
What book was it?
The Green Mile.
Oh yeah, duh. I'm tired, boss.
Do you suppose that when you die, you go back to your happiest moment in your life? A last meal of like fried chicken doesn't sound too bad either.
Which I know this is straight from a King of the Hill episode, and I think we've talked about it before on this podcast, but what would be your go-to final meal?
I don't think we've talked about it on this podcast. I know we've had the discussion before. Uh, Personally, I think we should start a last meal club together.
Yeah.
For our listeners at home, if you haven't seen, there's a King of the Hill episode where the Beast storyline, all of the guys start talking about like death row inmates' last meal. So they're like, why do you have to get killed to get a decent meal around here? So they form a last meal club and just have like a hog wild feast. But granted, I'm not currently sentenced to death.
Yeah.
There's still time. Um well, I don't live in a death penalty state, so I think I'm
Really?
pretty solid. Yeah.
Could have sworn your state had it.
They do, but they don't. Like they have a moratorium on it. Um I think for my last meal, I would request shepherd's pie, like an entire 9x13 pan of shepherd's pie, a 2 liter of Coke, like actual Coca-Cola, not that Sam's Choice bullshit, and then a brownie with like a scoop of ice cream. That would be my death row meal, unless I actually got sentenced to death row and I was feeling very salty. I'd probably choose something else, but I also might not have that much of an appetite.
You know, I like Dale Gribble's answer the best, you know. I'd ask for the rarest truffle in the world, and while they were looking for it, I'd tunnel my way out of prison.
But then I would miss out on the world's rarest truffle. It's quite the quandary.
But I want the heaviest edible they can find, a tablet of acid, and you know, I've always wanted to try heroin, so maybe a shot of that.
I don't think they give you drugs for your last meal.
Well, they ought to. I'm the one dying.
I remember watching this. That was the other thing I really enjoyed was I remember watching this documentary where this guy was sentenced to death, and he was in Utah, so he requested the firing squad because that's apparently still a thing in that fucking state.
Cool.
And so there, apparently, you're allowed, at least at the time, you're allowed to visit with your family prior to your execution, and his family smuggled in like shooters of whiskey and shit. I thought that was another great little piece in this movie when they're about to be taken out to the firing squad, and the guy hands him a canteen. And he's like, "Here, this will help you get through this a little better."
But as I was saying, I'd also take a medium rare steak, but it has to be from my family ranch.
And while they were obtaining a medium rare steak from your family ranch,
it's
tunnel
not
your
that
way
hard.
out. Well, I mean, it's probably difficult to keep it medium rare from your ranch all the way to wherever you're on death row.
We'll just get the raw beef from my ranch and then cook it medium rare. I don't know. Fuck off.
I wonder what South Dakota's last meal rules are, because I can't remember. I think it's
penalty.
Oh yeah, you guys still kill people.
Good.
I think, is it Texas or Mississippi? There's a state down south where they don't do last meals. It's literally like whatever the fuck the rest of the prison is having that day is what you're having.
Lame. But
and like that stemmed from like some jackass ordering basically the equivalent of a buffet, and then he didn't eat any of it.
I heard about that guy. He was just being a dick.
I find like there's another state I heard about where I think they took a reasonable approach, which was like you get like a $50 or a $75 budget and you can get anything within that budget. I think that's fair.
Mm. There's do you know the one of the death penalty laws in Japan? I don't know if they still have the death penalty, but they have this rule that prisoners on death row are told that they're going to die, but they don't learn about the day of the execution until it's the day of the execution. Sometimes they get an hour's warning.
It's gotta be fucking worse.
Prevents protesters and their family from kicking up a fuss.
Like, I suppose, but imagine being the guy on death row and you're just sitting and it's like literally at any moment it could happen versus don't like I'm saying this as a person who's like I'm not pro death penalty. I'm very much against it. Which I know is kind of odd. I like if anybody's listened to this show and other things I've like opinions I've expressed, it doesn't really fall in line with other things I believe in, but like yeah, I'm not a big supporter of the death penalty, mostly because of I think this film is an excellent illustration of that where yes, there are individuals who commit crimes that most certainly I think warrant it, but as long as like a government or a court can fuck it up, I don't think that option should be on the table. Like, if somebody's being put to death, it better be because, like, in my opinion, it better be because it's a 100% like zero doubt that they did it, and the thing they did is so incomprehensibly like heinous. But like here in the U.S. and in the case of this film, like you do have people who either didn't do what they were accused of, or they did do it, but like you have a fucked up justice system that enables this particular outcome.
I think we ought to bring back public hangings.
I think like if we're going to go through with execution as a punishment in a justice system, I think you should be able to choose your method of execution.
Yeah. Old bombings.
What method would you choose?
You know,
Dottie.
I agree with Dottie, but say what you will about the Imperial Japanese Army or religiously motivated zealots in the Middle East, but they know how to stage a goddamn war. Strap a bomb to myself and maybe go into an enemy compound. Maybe drive my plane into an enemy warship.
You're saying that if you were to be sentenced to death, that you want to be able to kamikaze yourself into an enemy force?
Yeah, then I'll become a god or something.
You know what? I respect it. That's honestly creative. That's more creative than I would have come up with.
Ooh, how about this? Trial by combat.
Trial by combat. If you make it out, you're not sentenced to death anymore.
Well, they just keep sending people until you die. I want to see how many I can take out.
So you want death penalty, but gladiator arena.
Oh yeah, it'll pay for itself. Just put it on pay-per-view. Maybe a subscription service. Ooh. Here's an idea. Tattoo a shitload of brand names to my body. Send me in naked with just a combat knife. That way we can have sponsors.
No.
They all geniuses were considered madmen in their time.
Yeah, they were. If I was to be sentenced to death, I think I would choose. Um, I think honestly, I would choose death by guillotine. That seems like the quickest.
Is is the lethal injection that they give psychedelic?
Uh, no.
Because I was
At
gonna say
least not that I've read. That shouldn't be a side effect.
that's what I was gonna say. Like if it was psychedelic, maybe that. Because I want to fly away from this world howling at a yellow moon.
That's kind of one of the big issues with lethal injection right now is there's currently with some botched executions, there is a possibility that lethal injection is actually like turns out super fucking painful, like more painful than like a gas chamber or like electric chair, which seems really hard to fathom, but
What's Dottie doing now?
she wants outside. Miranda's currently on a road trip, so I'm living the single parent life.
I'm sorry, where is she?
She's up in Montana.
Uh, why?
Her and her friend wanted to take a road trip and see Glacier. It's been like a bucket list thing for them.
I assume Glacier's a musical group.
No, Glacier National Park.
Oh, okay.
What
We
musical group would perform in Montana and not Denver?
one that hates Denver. I don't know.
The Billings Children's Choir.
One that doesn't want to go to the Denver airport, which is
that-
understandable because fuck that place.
that's fair. Um, so what did you think of the execution scene in this movie?
I knew they were going to die. However, I have that annoying niggling hope in my body that said someone's gonna save them. And a part of me was saying, "Oh, Kirk Douglas is gonna like ride his horse or something in front of the execution squad." But no, the day was not saved. No heroics were to be had. These men ultimately died for nothing, were killed for nothing. All because some people wanted to feel better about the failed assault and set an example that didn't need to be made on a war that didn't need to be happening.
I thought, this entire film is like a great example of rising tension,
Oh yes, it
but
was super tense.
the like this was another scene where Kubrick used like a long continuous shot and it worked, I thought, magnificently in this film because you see like they probably have to walk like 100 meters or something like that, and you're seeing them like crying and praying, and like it's such a long walk, and the entire shot, like the tension is just building because like you're literally watching them take a step closer to their deaths, and like I think, take like the Green Mile. You'll have a scene where like they pull a guy out of the cell and then it cuts over to them being strapped into the chair versus like you're seeing them walk from the little cellar thing all the way to the execution posts, and it's like it takes a couple of minutes, and you know you, you know what's coming, you know what's about to happen, and like just like the characters in this film, you're kind of powerless and you have to wait for it to occur. And I thought it was like an honestly terrific bit of filmmaking in this scene. Not to mention, I thought like Kubrick didn't hold back when it came to the actual execution. Like like we see them get like obviously they don't get really shot, but like we see them being executed, which was astounding to me for this being a 50s film to see like an on-screen execution as opposed to like it panning away and we hear the gunshots. I thought that was honestly like it was a bold move on his part at the time he was producing this film.
Yes. Man, and that choice to just watch the slow march up, it was that guy in tears the whole time. Man.
I will say another thing that I really enjoyed about this film was the like backroom politics that was played. Like before the trial even begins, they're sitting down. They're like, "Okay, we need to choose 3 men to be court-martialed and be executed." Like, hold up, you are a fucking major decision here. Like, what's the point of a court-martial?
Yeah, like kangaroo court.
Like, this is the first time I've ever like, if ever there was a kangaroo court, that's what this was. But like, it's followed up by like, the main general who's the dickhead in this. You know, his troops failed, and his response to a failure is to order an artillery strike on his own guys. And after the battle, he's like, "Your men failed. They were cowards." And then like they're like, "Okay, we'll see you at the court martial in 2 hours." And the artillery commander comes up to meet with the general, and he's like, "I'm moving you to another division." It's like, you fuckstick. Like, better yet, I appreciate the like near the end of this film where the other general is like, "Oh, they're like we heard you ordered an artillery strike on your guys, so there'll be an inquiry." And then he offers Kirk Douglas, the general's command, and he's like, "Ah, you played this game very well. You're finally getting what you wanted." And Kirk Douglas is like, "You think this is why I did all this shit?" I think it's like a really great example of like military aristocracy where it's like everybody's just trying to get a leg up, and it's like you have one guy who genuinely cares about his people.
Yeah, one guy.
Just the one.
Yeah, but it's a shame we didn't see the conclusion of that Scarface dickhead's inquiry. Can't
Oh,
remember what his name is.
he was, let me see. Brigadier General Miro.
Yeah.
Miro, baguette, baguette.
Okay, we just lost our French listeners. Thanks.
I can speak French.
What omelette du fromage?
Omelette de fromage. I was going to say, oui, oui, surrender, or some shit like that.
I really can't dunk on the French for that because they fucking fought hard in World War One.
Oh, absolutely. The French definitely get a bad rap as far as the whole surrender thing goes.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they lost more soldiers in the first couple months of World War One than they did throughout the entire Napoleonic campaigns.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It also doesn't help that the first couple of months of World War One, the French were still wearing red pants.
Mm-hmm.
Not
And
very inconspicuous.
it's just the early days of World War One is wild to me because everyone has this brand new technology that surely the enemy doesn't have, and boy howdy, they're just ready for war. They're expecting another swift one like one of the Napoleonic Wars. Boom, like 20,000 people are dead in the first battle alone, and it's just gonna get worse from there.
Yeah, it's like there was like one of the first major casualty battles is like the number of troops the French lost in an hour was more than like the entire Russian campaign.
Industrialized death.
Like no shit they failed their attack, but whatever.
Yeah, real. No surprise there.
What is something you disliked about this film?
That I didn't get to see the justice to that one asshole, but knowing this movie, there probably wouldn't be any anyway. They'd probably just give him a slap on the wrist, if anything.
Yeah. I personally I kind of liked your take earlier, which is I almost wish the entire film was like a courtroom drama, and as people testified, we saw what happened. Um, but I still like the film as it is. I really enjoy the like courtroom setting in a film. Makes me think we should do Hearts War sometime. That's another like court martial centric film.
Hearts War. Sounds familiar.
Uh, Bruce Willis and
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell are in a POW camp, and they have a court martial. It's very powerful, very stunning, very brave. Um, was there anything else you wanted to bring up or discuss about this film?
Oh, you mean other than the fact that it's depressing? Because that was my main thought.
It is a very depressing film. It's a very powerful film. It's very much in line with Stanley Kubrick's anti-war stance that he takes in a lot of his films.
Man,
It's a
war sucks.
common theme.
War sucks.
Just remember, Jack, there is no such thing as shell shock.
Good to know.
At least according to General Muro, we gotta get this coward out of here.
I mean, he's kind of right. There really is no such thing as shell shock. It's called PTSD now.
Ah, right.
You know,
Jokes on us. There really wasn't shell shock after all.
and may I take this moment as an aside to stand on a soapbox for a second?
Stand away.
Thanks for giving me permission. Whatever. Anyway, George Carlin has this famous bit about like the rewording of things. And one of the things he takes issues with was shell shock. He was like, "Oh, we should have kept shell shock because if we did, people would have gotten treatment more." No, they wouldn't have. Naming aside, and he like goes off on a tangent about how PTSD is awful, an awful phrase. Well, it's more accurate. They got the name shell shock because they thought the person's nerves were damaged from the shock waves of the shells going off, which isn't what happened, but
Yeah, it's a little off.
yeah, that's one of the things I disagree with George Carlin about.
I feel like the understanding of battle fatigue from World War II was a little closer or on the dot
It
with
was closer.
PTSD. It still was off, but
It gets points for trying.
right. So what are you drinking this evening?
I was drinking a Sapporo, but I finished it, and now I'm drinking my old love Fresca.
It's been a minute since I've had Sapporo.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. There's only one place in town that I'm aware of that sells it, and it's the sushi place. And they give these big, thick cans of it. In fact, I might go get another one because I'm playing Baldur's Gate after this. Yeah, you know what? I should. We're on the final boss, so I think I deserved it. I got some seafood hibachi that I've been chewing on all day.
It's nice.
Fucking love
One of
seafood.
the perks of having the house to myself for the week is I can eat whatever the fuck I want because I'm just feeding myself. I don't need to have the discussion like, oh, what do you want for dinner? What do you want for dinner? So this evening, I will be while I'm watching next week's film, which I'm very excited to discuss. I have myself a ribeye steak, some fresh sweet corn, and a baked potato that I'm going to do up. And I have been, because at the day of this recording, it's on Juneteenth, so both me and Jack had the day off. So I've been getting trashed all day. I saw this like a Instagram reel recipe get suggested to me, and I've been having it all day, which is Corona sunrise. And essentially what you do is you make a tequila sunrise and then pour out half of like you get a bottle of Corona, pour half of it out, put the tequila sunrise mixed in with the Corona. It's quite good. It's also the most French drink I could think of.
If that occurred to me, I just would have gotten wine. But not a French wine, mind you, an American wine just to annoy the French listeners.
Franzia.
Oh yeah, it was gonna be something trashy. Box wine.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I love some Stella Rosa.
I fucking love box wine, and it is my firm opinion that there is nobody, and I do mean nobody, on this planet that's too good for boxed wine.
As I've said in the past, I'm not too good for box wine. I've just not found a box wine that I enjoy yet.
Bro, all the times we slapped the bag in college, you were telling me you didn't enjoy it?
That is correct. I was drinking out of desperation. Same reason I drank hams in college. It's not because it was good.
Johnny, you just realized that was the third strike, right?
Okay.
First, you wouldn't hold my shit bag if we were on a special forces mission. Next, and this was today, actually.
I just want to remind you that our listeners never got to hear that episode.
Okay, so let me reference the Lost episode.
The Lost episode of
Ladies
Armchair
and gentlemen,
Commanders.
This asshole said he wouldn't hold the shit bag for me if we were on a special forces mission. He wouldn't hold the bag for me to shit into, so we don't leave our presence there.
Let's further elaborate this. The film in question was Bravo 20. They need to know where this joke is coming from.
Fine.
The film in question was Bravo 20. We had the actor Rick Warden on with us. Because Podcastle sucks a massive bag of dicks, our audio was lost from that episode. But in that movie, there's a scene where two special forces guys are together. They're trying to remain undetected, so one guy has to take a shit, and the other guy is literally holding like a hefty bag for him to shit in. And I said, "No, Jack, I will not hold a hefty bag for you while you took a shit."
Can you believe this? The mission comes before the man, John. I would hold your shit bag twice. Anyway, and then I watched Crazy Horse earlier today, and in it there's a brief scene, more on this later by the way, there's a brief scene where two commanders of the American forces say something along the lines of "ready, ready," and they hold a pistol to the other's head and say "pull," and they shoot at the same time, killing each other because they don't want to be captured by the Sioux warriors. Anyway, I texted this man I used to call my friend and said, "Would you enter in a mutual suicide pact with me?" And he was like, "No, I'm fighting to the last man." You fucking asshole. We're gonna die anyway, and I asked you to do this as a friend, and you won't kill me.
As I said, I wouldn't waste the bullet.
And then he tells me he didn't enjoy boxed wine. That's 3 fucking strikes, man. Or
That's
enjoys
never
hot
been a
dog.
secret.
Yes, well, I didn't know about it until now. So I guess it was a secret in some sense of the word. But
Okay.
this man is killing me, viewers.
Okay, what are we rating this film?
Like out of 5, like what's our
Yeah.
roast duck?
Roast duck. All right.
Let's hear yours first.
I thought this was a stellar film. It's very simple, but very powerful. It's very straightforward. Not a lot of fluff to it. Um, I don't know the next time I would watch it,
Oh,
but
same.
this is definitely a. This would make it onto my top 10 like you must watch war film. It wouldn't be my top 10 films like personal favorite films, but it would be a top 10 you must watch this war film list. So for that, I would give it 4 whole roast ducks and a wing section, so like a 4.25.
That sounds about right. I was gonna give it 4 ducks, including one that's already half eaten, so 4.5.
All right. What does Rotten Tomatoes give this?
Oh yeah, that's right. That is one of my duties. Just... All right. So, Tales of Glory, Riant and Tommy Toes. So, the tomometer is at 96%, and the audience score is 95%. Okay?
Seems fair.
Yeah. I agree with both of those.
I would, it's not a perfect film, but it is damn near a perfect film.
Yeah. It's a really good movie.
Well, that has been Paths of Glory. I'm so happy I could share that cheery film with you. Actually, it was Miranda that chose that film for us, if you recall. Because neither of us could choose what film to pick, and she literally pulled out her phone. She was like, "Hey Siri, give me the name of a war film," and that's what Siri picked for us. So
Thanks,
fuck
Siri.
you, yeah, fuck you, Siri.
This episode isn't sponsored by Apple, but it could be.
I'm not sure if we want that unholy alliance, but
Actually, yeah, no, you're right.
that's how you end up with your mouth sewed to another person's butthole.
Yep. Is that a war movie? Human Centipede?
No.
But it's conflict, man versus nature, I think.
Man versus butthole.
Yeah. A tale as old as time.
Have you heard the song? It's called like
exactly where you're going with
Red
this.
Flags or something, and it's literally just a song about a dude who's on a date with a girl, and like her entire personality revolves around loving the film Human Centipede.
How is that a red flag?
I don't know. I'll send it to you. It's a good song.
It sounds like a real toe tapper. I'll show you my butthole song.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say you're going to show me your butthole. I'm like, I've already seen that, man.
Yeah, I really got to think of a new birthday gift for you. Wait.
Your yearly chocolate star just isn't doing it anymore.
Yeah, it was fun the first couple times. But yeah, I just posted in the chat a link to the classic 1950s song. I glued my balls to my butthole again.
Okay.
I can't. I can't take a dump because my balls are blocking up my butthole again.
So next week, very excited to announce, Jack mentioned it earlier. We are going to be reviewing the 1996 film Crazy Horse, which is going to be about the Battle of the Little Bighorn. So next week, we'll actually be releasing our episode a day or two early. I forgot exactly what day next week it is, but we're going to release it on Victory Day for those who don't know. For the Native Americans around, the Battle of the Little Bighorn is referred to as Victory Day because they fucking stomped Custer.
Yeah, I already requested that day off specifically.
I'm happy for you.
I'm gonna get drunk.
So yes, next week, Victory Day / Little Bighorn anniversary, we will be reviewing the film Crazy Horse.
And we have a special guest for you. Our first guest we ever had on this show, Carl.
I'm surprised he even agreed to come back.
We didn't scare him off enough. We need to work hard on that when he's on tomorrow.
I already know what I'm going to drink for our next episode.
What?
Horse Soldier whiskey.
All right. I'll have to think of something. Probably beer.
All right.
But no, that's all I got.
And that's fair. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. The stars do matter. If you want additional content from us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord under Armchair Commanders. We'd love to see you there. Until next week, I've been John.
And I'm Jack.
And we will see you all later.
I'm not saying bye.